And before we start our program, I want to just do a few logistical details. So we are going to record tonight's event. Ms. Mitsavicius will get that started for me. I see you're all on mute. We're all pretty good with Zoom these days, but if you can stay muted during the presentation, that would be great. It would be wonderful for us to see you. So if you have your camera on, thank you. And if you don't have the option for that, no worries. We're happy to just chat. We will have some dedicated time for questions a little bit later, and you'll have the option of using the chat function or unmuting and asking your question. And if there's any question that we can answer during tonight's event, we're happy to follow up individually later this week. So I just would like to start. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that 2020 has been a really difficult year, and that tonight is a challenging moment for the nation that's founded on the principles of equality and freedom. As the events in Washington, D.C. continue to unfold, the Perkiomen community sends strength to those being impacted by the events on our Capitol this afternoon. I have faith that the education and the environment that Perkiomen provides allows us to foster strong and ethical leaders and really good people who will have a positive impact on our world. And I remain hopeful that we will all find peace in 2021. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Diana Gleason. I'm the Assistant Head of School for External Affairs here at Perkiomen. And that's an easy way to say that I oversee admissions, marketing, communications, and college counseling. This is my 6th year at Perkiomen, and I've worked in independent schools for over 25 years. I chose Perkiomen both for myself professionally, and I chose Perkiomen as a parent. So I have 2 children. My son is currently a 10th grader here and has been at Perkiomen since the 6th grade. And my daughter Maeve was a 9th grader when we arrived and graduated in 2019. Currently, she is successfully navigating her sophomore year at Elon University in North Carolina. I'm really pleased that she's agreed to join us as a panelist tonight. And Maeve will be joined by two current students who I also adore. So I'm going to kick it off by introducing my colleague, Mr. Dave Antonowitz. Dave is our Director of College Counseling, and it was my pleasure actually to hire him in June of 2016. Dave graduated from Susquehanna University in 2005 with a BA in history, and he brought 11 years of experience working as an admissions counselor for 3 different universities. So to date, Dave has visited the campuses of over 500 colleges, and he estimates he's read more than 15,000 college essays. So in addition to working with our Perkiomen students in the college search and application process, Dave is also our head boys lacrosse coach. But professionally, Dave has served on the executive committee of the Pennsylvania Association for College Admissions Counseling from 2012 to 2020. Serving as the conference planning chair, treasurer, and chair of finance and budget, and concluding with a 3-year term in the presidential cycle. He also served as the coordinator of the Affiliate Presidents Council and board director for the National Association of College Admissions Counseling. Dave is one of the best college counseling professionals I've worked with in my career, and I feel very lucky to have had my own daughter, Maeve, under his guidance during her process. And so now I'm going to turn this event over to Dave and his team.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Gleason, for that wonderful introduction and your very, very kind words. I was really, really excited to join the team at Perkiomen School in 2016 because when I was on the college side, I was able to spend some time visiting Perkiomen School and working with the students here. And I knew the community and the colleagues and the people that worked here and knew it was a great fit and a right place for me to join and continue my professional career. Tonight, we want to talk to you a little bit about our Office of College Counseling. We want to share who we are and what we do, how we approach college counseling, and how we work within the campus community. As Mrs. Gleason said, I'm also very pleased that we have 2 current students and 1 graduate who are here to talk a little bit about their college search process, and we'll give them a more formal introduction when we get to that part of the program. And then after that, we'll open it up to questions to you all so that we can really talk about the things that you're interested in and help you understand a bit more about how our office works and how we can partner with you to help achieve those goals of moving from Perkiomen to whatever might come next. So I will start by introducing my colleagues, Erin Davidson Kellogg and Keegan Ash. So Mrs. Davidson Kellogg serves as the Associate Director of College Counseling and the Director of Testing. She is a graduate of Denison University, where she earned bachelor's degrees in both mathematics and dance. She earned her master's degree in mathematics learning and teaching from Drexel University. Mrs. Davidson Kellogg joined the Perkiomen community in 2007 and the Office of College Counseling in 2009. She is also the head coach for our swimming team and assistant coach for our track team. During her time at Perkiomen, Mrs. Davidson Kellogg has held a number of different teaching and advising roles. She has also been involved in service to the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling, serving on the Conference Planning Committee, where she and I actually met many years ago, serving on the Secondary School Counseling Committee and the College Tour Committee as well. She currently serves on 2 counselor advisory boards for Lebanon Valley College as well as for Moravian College. Erin, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. It's great to see everyone. Thank you.
So Mr. Ash serves as the Assistant Director of College Counseling and a teacher in our Entrepreneurship Institute. He's a strength and conditioning coach and a JV basketball coach. He has held a few other teaching roles since joining Perkiomen in 2010. He's taught in the math department, in the economics department, as well as in our learning center and our ESL programs. He earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Economics from Dickinson College in 2010 and a Master's in Science in Global and International Education from Drexel University in 2017. Mr. Ash is serving on the Finance and Budget Committee for the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling, and he also serves as our office's liaison to the NCAA Eligibility Center. So as you have met, we have 3 full-time professional college counselors. Each one of our students is assigned a college counselor in their junior year, and we work with them really starting in the winter in an individual basis, one-on-one, to talk about their goals and what they want to get out of their college search process. Our college counselors, as you've heard, are connected to many of the different professional networks, including our statewide network in Pennsylvania and our national network through NACAC. But we are also connected to a network of Association of College Counselors in Independent Schools and 2 regional groups in the Philadelphia area that bring college counselors together to talk about current trends and issues and to share some professional feedback and development. And we've been able to both benefit from being a part of those conversations as well as lead some of those conversations. So what it comes down to is our office's philosophy and mission is to strive to help students discover the right fit college or university. This means finding a school that aligns with the student's goals personally, academically, and professionally. We want to make sure that students are continuing their education at a place that will allow them for meaningful growth in the areas that are really relevant to their career and personal and professional aspirations. We aim to develop a list of schools that aligns with the student's academic profile, as well as their personality, their own philosophy and values in outlook on the world, and then the extracurricular components that will help them to fulfill all those goals. We also connect really closely with our college and university partners. Each fall, our campus, our office welcomes around 125 different college representatives to visit Perkiomen, whether that's virtually or in person, and get a chance to meet with our students and talk to our students about their goals and the things that are going on in their college search. This year, we partnered with 3 other independent schools to host a series of virtual college fairs, increasing the exposure our students had and opportunity they had to connect with college representatives. One of the things that we really work to do is help students understand the value of those connections, and also help them understand that it's not really a scary thing to go through, but that it's a conversation between 2 people who are just trying to get to know each other a little bit better. It also helps us as counselors to talk to those college representatives and let them know what's going on at Perkiomen, and let them know all the great things that our students are accomplishing and being a part of, which helps those college officers do their job a little bit better when they're reviewing applications. They really get to understand what a Perkiomen student is and has opportunities to be a part of. We are a test center, and I'll let Mrs. Davidson Kellogg talk a little bit about testing, standardized testing at Perkiomen.
Hello, everyone. Like Mr. Antonowitz said, that we are a closed test center here at Perkiomen. So what that means is that we are only open for registrations for Perkiomen students, and that is for the SAT, for the ACT, for TOEFL if English is not your first language, as well as for our AP exams every spring. We also administer PSAT exams for our sophomores and juniors each fall, and again, the AP exams every May. So what a registered closed test center means is that it provides a safe environment for all of our students. So they don't have to worry about being in a classroom somewhere else or in a big, huge gym with lots of people. They're actually in our academic building, SHUMO. We're just in a classroom where they're learning mathematics every day. So it makes it really easy for them to apply what they're learning in the classroom right for their exams. In addition, with testing on campus, as college counselors, we actually work with each student and their families individually to develop a testing plan that is exactly what will benefit them in the process. So for some students, that might be to take the SAT twice. For somebody else, it might be to take the SAT and the ACT and figure out which one is a better fit for them. And for some students, they might choose to be test optional. Now, for test optional plan, that means that the students will apply to college without submitting any standardized test scores. So colleges will evaluate their application based off of all the other factors in the process, including their essays or activities. They might require an interview or something else to supplement that material, but usually they don't need anything extra. They will just look at their transcripts and their application that way. So if you are interested in the test optional plan, there's a great website for those of you who are in that middle of that process, fairtest.org. They compile all of those schools that are test optional currently. And right now there is a lot of them due to COVID. So hopefully that'll stay that way as it benefits a lot of our students, where college admissions officers view our students more than just a test score. And again, we're here to answer any of those questions that you have regarding standardized tests. Feel free to ask me later. Thank you.
So there are a lot of questions that students and families have as they're going through their college search process, and that's what we're here to help navigate. We take satisfaction in our job when we know that students are making decisions to matriculate to the college or university that's a great match and it's a great fit. Last year's graduating class of 82 students are attending 66 different colleges in 5 different countries. Our students really look all over the place and all over the world. And what that means is that there are multiple different admissions and application processes that they may have to navigate if a student is applying to schools in the US and in Canada and in, say, the United Kingdom. Those are 3 different systems that that student will have to navigate to submit applications. And so we really work on an individual basis to partner with students and their families. And Mr. Ash will touch a little bit upon some of the things that we do to set that up.
Hi. Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I just wanted to kind of touch base on the process as a whole and really talk about why I love working with students the way we do through this process, right? And we know from the start that every student is unique, and therefore their process is going to be unique, right? Students are going to be applying to colleges at different times. They're going to choose to apply to a different number of colleges. That process is going to be unique to each student. So within that process, right, we want to help empower you as students to be the driving force, right, in that, take ownership over this process, right? So as in our role, right, that might be there as a supportive and helpful resource, whether that includes helping you with questions about test prep, or the NCAA compliance or eligibility center, financial aid or scholarships, and any other special circumstances for you. And then we know that this process from the outside can really look stressful or challenging, but knowing that you have a expert, reliable resource that you can go to throughout this process is there so that you can kind of go through this process with a little more confidence, much more clarity, and put your best foot forward in your applications to colleges.
We know that, like Mr. Ash said, each process is different for each student. It's different for each family, and brothers and sisters or siblings often have very different paths. So even if you've been through this before, every time it's going to be a little bit new. Now, we don't know everything about everything. That's just not possible, but we know how to find the answers, and we know how to get the answers to the questions or connect you to the people who can adequately answer the questions that you have. And that's really where we see our role, is helping to reduce some of that apprehension, and also to help shine the light on the different areas that may be uncertain or confusing or you're just not sure about. So as students and their families go through this process, we help to provide that support and reassurance a lot of times. Right now, for us, a lot of what we're doing is just telling our students, yeah, we've got to wait for decisions to come back. You've done the work. Be proud of that. Sit back. We'll get through this together. And in the spring, when decisions start to come out, we'll transition that conversation with our seniors towards helping them figure out what the best next step might be, and to talk through the pros and cons of all of the different options that they have in front of them. And as we get into the work with our junior students, we really want to focus in the beginning on why. Why do you want to go to college? What are you looking for in that experience? What are you looking for in terms of skill development and the things that you want to learn, and help them really take that giant pool of colleges, right? In the US, there's over 3,000 colleges. In the world, there's thousands and thousands of colleges. And how do we narrow that down? First to a list that you would apply to, and then to the school that you're going to enroll in. And so we help to sort of cut down some of that big amount of apprehension that comes from just not knowing where to start, and get students set off towards eventually graduating from Perkiomen and finding that right fit. So we do a lot of different things. We have some resources. We use a program online called SCOIR, that's SCOIR, and that serves as a database. Students can do college research through that. It's how we as counselors catalog and track their applications and help them to send supporting documents and transcripts and things like that. We connect students to the information sessions, to the college fairs, like I had mentioned earlier, and we do some special programming on our campus. So in the fall, we traditionally have a financial aid night for families. In just a few weeks, on February 1st, we'll have a big event for all of our juniors, featuring an admissions panel with some experts from leading colleges around the country who come in, and really they just get right to it. They tell you what the process can look like, and give you some great advice on how to go through that. And there are other mini sessions throughout the year to help students understand how to write an essay, how to talk to a college admissions officer, what they can do in a campus visit. If that's in person, how can they take advantage of that? If it can only be virtual, what are some ways that they can understand and research that college through through those pieces. So we love to share our students' process with them. We love to be a part of it. We get excited when they get excited. We get excited when they complete small milestones and big milestones. And we celebrate that in a couple of different ways. We want our campus community to celebrate that. And then we have a pretty active Instagram page. So our at Perk College Counseling is a good follow if you're on Instagram. We post each week some updates about different colleges to help our students learn more about the options that are out there, as well as celebrate some of the things and parts of the process that our students are going through. So I want to cut back on us talking so much there and bring our students and graduate into the conversation. And so I'll introduce our student panel and ask them a few questions and get a little bit of their insights. So first we have Posey Bale. Posey is a senior from Wayne, Pennsylvania, and has been a facilitator and session leader for our Mid-Atlantic Regional Diversity Conference. And she is a candidate for entrepreneurial distinction in our Entrepreneurship Institute. Posey, would you like to share your college decision with everyone?
Hi, so I'm going to the University of Vermont in Burlington. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Go Catamounts.
Yeah.
Next, we have Philip Byriel. Philip is a senior from Drums, Pennsylvania. He's a member of our varsity basketball team and serves as the student body vice president. Philip, would you like to share your college decision?
I'm going to be going to Princeton University next year.
All right, go Tigers. And then Maeve Gleason is, as you heard, a Perkiomen graduate from our class of 2019 and is a sophomore at Elon University in North Carolina. At Perkiomen, she was a member of our soccer and track programs and held a number of leadership positions. And Maeve, what are you studying at Elon?
I'm an elementary and special ed major.
All right. So the first thing I want to start with our panelists, I just want to ask you, when you were first starting to think about college, whether that was on your own or as part of the college counseling program, what were you looking for in a college? And maybe how did that change or not change over the course of the process? So who would like to start?
I can go first.
Great.
Yeah, so originally when I was first thinking about colleges, I wanted to go to a really big school, big campus, like city somewhere. And then I started narrowing down my list and getting a little more realistic. And I was able to visit a few campuses before COVID hit. And I was able to kind of see where I felt comfortable. And so I went to a school in the middle of Philadelphia, and I just didn't feel comfortable there. I didn't feel at home. And then the same day we drove down to Princeton's campus, which is much smaller, much quieter. And I just felt at home. So it wasn't originally where I saw myself. But, you know, after the research and being able to visit, I just felt like it was the perfect fit.
I also at the beginning thought I might have wanted like a big state school because I definitely wanted school spirit and I wanted, I don't know, like a really friendly environment. But after touring around more schools, I decided more middle size was more where I fit.
Posey?
I really had no idea of anything. So like from freshman year, I wanted a big school, super big city. And then as I kind of figured myself out, I was like, I wanted something smaller, not too small, because I want to see different people each day. So we landed right in the middle. Yeah.
So how did your college counselor at Perkiomen help you in terms of creating a list of things to consider or schools to research or schools to apply to?
So I had a list of 6 schools that I was being recruited for athletically. And so we just kind of sat down, we made a list of the 6 schools and we went through things like location, what kind of majors and programs they have. and how that ties into how I see myself becoming what I want to become in the future. And so we were able to kind of narrow that list down instantly just based on the smallest checklist. So, even just making sure they had the major that cut off 2 schools right at the start. So just being able to have those conversations whenever you want to, pretty much, was super, super helpful.
Yeah, Mr. Antonowitz really helped me. I was kind of all over the board. Like, I was looking at so many schools in the beginning, especially junior year. I didn't know exactly what I wanted. So Mr. Antonowitz really helped me a lot, kind of create a list. And then I talked to those reps and went to the college fairs and then visited some schools. And then that's how I decided eventually.
And then through meetings with Mr. Antonowitz, like my first meeting, I just kind of was telling him how I have no idea, no clue where I'm gonna start. And then once we went virtual, I had a meeting with him, and then right after it was the college fair. And my mom had talked about UVM, but I didn't know much about it. So I didn't really want to go to the college fair. I wanted to just skip it, but I went to it right after it, and then I got to know more about UVM.
So was there anything as you were going through the process that really surprised you, either about the colleges or about yourself as you were learning about the colleges?
I mean, I would say, again, it just ties into where you feel comfortable, because I wasn't expecting myself to be happy in a little bit of a smaller community where it's just less people to interact with. But then, as I matured and as I went through all the colleges I was looking at, it was just an easy decision, really. Once you're able to have those conversations with the counselors.
I was surprised kind of how many schools I really liked. I kind of always thought I would find there was one school that I would only want to get into that school, but it ended up with the list we created that I really loved a lot of the schools I got into. So yeah, that surprised me.
What surprised me was that the process wasn't that difficult. I think the most difficult part was making my essay as strong as it could be, but I have older siblings, and their process, or the age gap is really big, so their process was completely different, and they had a really stressful time. But then building up ever since kindergarten, college it's gonna be hard, but I had a nice time doing it.
So what was your favorite thing about going through the college search and application process?
Getting to spend time with Mr. Ash. That was my favorite. No, but just overall how easy it really, they help make it. Because you always hear how difficult the college search and picking a school is. And I mean, obviously it's not easy, writing all your essays and finishing everything. But with the support that they give you, it was, with all the extra time we had this year to do it in the dedicated periods, it really didn't feel difficult at all for me.
I like the end and finally feeling all the work you and Mr. Antonowitz did, helping me out, kind of paid off, and I found the perfect school for me. So.
My favorite part was probably, I don't know. I think seeing the different campuses, since it was all virtual, I didn't get to visit any campuses in person. So I think, especially when they had what's it called? A thing that hovers over and films. What are they called?
Oh, drone.
Yeah, drone videos really helped. Yeah, and YouTube, that was a good part. Yeah.
So what was like maybe your not so favorite or one of the challenging things that you encountered in the process?
For me, it was my essay because I felt like I like overanalyzed it. Like I was trying way too hard to sound impressive rather than sound like myself. So it took me a while to even just like finish the first two paragraphs. Um, and I kind of I mentioned that I was having problems writing it. And Mr. Ash was like, slow down. You don't have to try to impress them. You just have to be yourself. And so it ended up going pretty well.
I would also say the essay, that was definitely stressful starting that. And it really does make a difference, I think, when schools read it. So it's a big part of the process. And just starting that at first felt overwhelming, but there's so much support at Perkiomen that you kind of get through it. You chunk it out and get through it.
Mine are either my mom having constant, like, she says, "Oh, I don't want to nag," but, and then she continues to nag, or the waiting. So I applied early decision or early action. So waiting was pretty stressful.
As you were going through and putting together those pieces of the application, how many faculty or teachers or advisors at Perkiomen weighed in or helped you with those different pieces?
So I just mentioned how I thought the essay was really difficult. So I think I sent it to a total of 3 or 4 teachers, and every single one had different things that they wanted to improve or wanted to critique. So like anyone is super helpful. So you're not gonna be turned down by anyone if you ask for help, even if you ask like literally anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I first wrote a college essay draft my sophomore year in high school. So it definitely so many teachers help, even with recommendations. Like I got so much help from all my teachers.
I don't think I sent it to anyone. I think, well, I have a bunch of family that looked at it. So, yeah.
So as you think about where you are in this process and where you started, what is some advice that you would give to a student who is maybe a few months away from getting into this process and then maybe a few years away from getting into this process?
I would say just get started as soon as you can. Just give yourself as much time as possible to finish it, because I was kind of the other opposite way. I waited as long as I could, even though Mr. Ash was always saying, "Philip, you should probably get started. You should probably do this." So yeah, I would say take your time and use your resources.
I would say a few years away, focus on your classes and academics and extracurriculars, and kind of getting that stuff strong for your application down the line. And a couple months away, you really don't need, like, I feel like so many people talk about like a dream school, and you don't need to know exactly what you want. There are so many great schools, and your college counselor will help you create a list that really fits you. So you don't need to be stressed about it. You'll get through it.
Yeah, I second that. I think the stress isn't helpful and it doesn't do any good. But also, if there's a few more years until the thing, then try as many different things as possible. Even if it's like you're like, no, I don't think so. Just do it, especially if it's like a little thing to learn about it. And I'd say keep your mind open. With distance, I didn't really want to go that far, but Burlington is like very far and it's cold. So I was like, no, I don't even want to look at it. But then my mom insisted, so I did, and that's where I'm going.
Well, thank you. I think it's interesting how much similarities you had in your different processes, even though you all looked at different schools and different places at different times, but still had some definite themes that kept cropping up, because the process does have a lot of similarities for all of our students, even though it can be drastically different from one to the next to the next. But the most important thing to remember is that you as the student are the driver of this process. And at the end of the day, you get to decide where you're going to go and how you're going to navigate the next part of your education. So I really appreciate you sharing those thoughts. And right now I'm going to turn it to Ms. Misavicius to handle our question and answer session.
Great, thank you. Yes, so if you have any questions, you can feel free to put it in the chat and it will come directly to me, or you're certainly welcome to ask it out loud. I did have one come in a little earlier, and so Mr. Antonowitz, I'll direct this to you. How do you help put together a list for a student who says they just have no idea what they want to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of different ways to approach that. And really it's a conversation with the student trying to understand the why, not necessarily the how or the where, but the why. Why do you want to go to college? The answers that come out of that question can also often start to create a small profile of what an ideal school might look like for that student. And then we use some different opportunities to talk about different colleges. Once we get a student looking at some different schools and seeing what they like about it and seeing what they don't like about it, we can really start to build that out. We always tell our students, when you're starting out in your junior year, you could have 100 colleges on your list. You could have 1,000 colleges on your list. That's a bit extreme, but you certainly can. The goal is to winnow that down to a manageable list of schools to apply to in the fall of the senior year. And we know that it's fluid. Schools may be on the list in January of the junior year that drop off in June at the end of the junior year, that come back in September, October of the senior year. So nothing in this process is set in concrete in that way. But really that conversation about why helps to shed some light into what might be a good fit. Ultimately, we want our students to apply to a good range of schools that'll present a range of admissions options as well as their academic programs, so that we know that they'll have options to weigh and consider when they're making their final decision.
Great, thank you. When do students get their college counselor, who will be their key person for the process?
Yeah, so we typically assign and introduce students to their college counselor through our SCORE program around the same time that juniors are receiving their PSAT scores. So it's usually just after Thanksgiving. Prior to that, any student on campus can schedule time to meet with any of the college counselors to talk about any questions that they might have. In September and October, our focus is really with the seniors and helping them to really get their pieces together and kind of understand what their process is going to look like and really work towards completing those applications. And then in the winter is when we'll start to have more of those individual one-on-one conversations with our junior students and with their families.
How many times do you recommend students taking the SAT or ACT?
Mrs. Davidson-Kellogg, do you want to touch on that?
Sure. It depends on the student, right? So, but most of our students will take it once or twice in their junior year, and then once again in their senior year, again, depending on their score, and if they are preparing or think they can do better in that process. Again, that can be one SAT, one ACT. It can be all ACTs, all SATs. Again, it all depends on the student and what schools they're looking at and what their priorities are in the process.
Okay, and I have a question for the students. For the students that are on their way to college, how are you able to be organized with schoolwork and college work? So I guess that would be for our two current seniors.
Do you mean like filling out the application and the essays while managing schoolwork?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
they mean. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I live on campus, and so we have a lot of different kind of set times where we can work on the specific things. So we had a period right around lunch dedicated to college counseling where we could fill out the essays and the Common App and whatever else we had to do. And then we had a period at night from I think 8 to 10 where we just have study hall so we can get our schoolwork done. And then any other free time you have, obviously you can spend it doing either or, whichever one you want. So it's not, there's no like shortage of time. They kind of have it organized so that you have time for everything.
Yeah, I agree. And also, by the time I wanted to apply to school, like the schools on my list, I knew that I was gonna, well, I didn't know for sure, but I wanted to be test optional because during COVID, more and more schools are becoming test optional. So that was a plus. But yeah, I guess whenever you can, like do the easy part first, like your name, your background, stuff like that, and then do an outline, or at first kind of narrow down, look at the questions over and over and just say like, oh, should I do that question and that prompt or that and that? So
Yeah, I think one of the things that we talk about with the juniors when they are planning their academic schedule for senior year is remembering that the college application process is almost like adding another class to their schedule. And so we always have students who are super ambitious and they want to take 35 classes their senior year, and they want to take all the hardest classes and show colleges what they can really do. And we really advise against that. But to make a manageable schedule that shows progression in subject areas that are important and shows depth of knowledge, but also remembering that it's your senior year, you'll have some college application stuff to do. You also probably want to have a little bit of fun, so you don't want to overload too much. And the clubs and the leadership opportunities that are going to come up are also a factor in that, and building that into the time management. Like Posey said, we always encourage students to do the easy parts of the application over the summer or during breaks to get a little bit ahead of those things. So there are definite ways that students can balance those things out. When it comes down to it, when they're back and they're in their senior year classes, they're certainly going to have homework. But our faculty also understand what our students are going through, and they'll work with them on those pieces as well. And we do have some time built into our academic day schedule for students to work on college counseling.
Great, thank you. And so it looks like that's all our questions. So I will turn things over to Mrs. Gleason.
Great. Well, I really thank all of our experts. Our college counseling team is fantastic. Again, this is one of the best that I've worked with in my career. And I want to thank all our students as well. It's really important to have that real authentic perspective. And, you know, everybody's process is a little different. I think what I would mention about the process is that it really is an opportunity to learn more about yourself as the student going through it, and to really own this process, right? It is your process. And that's a little bit of a shift as a parent, right? You're handing over some of the reins, but part of that's important because I think that helps students end up where they should be. So I think it is a process where you get to see your child as a parent in a little different way than you have before. And that prepares you just a little bit for them to leave and come back as a young adult. And so again, we really appreciate our prospective students who are on the call tonight. We're really happy to see some of our current families here as well. This is an exciting process. We are always here to answer questions. You certainly can reach out to any of us on this call. For those of you who are prospective students looking at Perkiomen, we do have a few more virtual events scheduled for January that we'd love for you to join us at. If you haven't had an opportunity to come to one of our open houses yet, that's an opportunity where we showcase our head of school, Mr. Debbie, our Mr. Mosier, who runs our academic affairs, and also our associate head of school, Mrs. Doherty, who will always tell a good story or two. And so that will be on Wednesday, January 13th. We have 2 times for that, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then the end of January, we'll have an information session like this tonight, but focused on our fine and performing arts program. And so that will be a chance for you to meet our faculty and some of our students who are engaged in the arts here at Perkiomen. And I think that's that would be a wonderful opportunity as well. There's a lot of facets to Perkiomen. And so I think you got some very good advice from students here today. I love to hear, students encouraging each other to try new things and to really get engaged and involved in things. So we're really happy to have you here tonight. Again, if you have any specific questions that you'd like to reach out to the admissions team, you can certainly reach out to any of us. Again, I want to really thank our students and our college counseling team. So I hope you have a wonderful night, and we look forward to seeing you again here at Perkiomen. Thanks so much, everybody. And I always tell my advisees to unmute